Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with entrepreneur, author, humanitarian, and missionary Lauralee Lindholm. As a missionary with an unwavering commitment to transformative change, she spent 18 years in the remote highlands of Ethiopia, living amidst a community often overlooked by time. Alongside a dedicated team, she resided in humble tents, striving to ignite progress and hope. Heart for Ethiopia, her online bookstore symbolizes their dedication to sustainable development. With over $1.6 million spent since 2006, they empower communities through literacy programs, kindergartens, and sports clubs, creating a ripple effect of positive change. We get into her life, the new book, and so much more. Enjoy.
It's great to meet you. Where are you located?
Just south of Dallas, DeSoto, Texas.
Well, I'm in Kansas City. It's great to meet you. And before we get into your life as an author, I want to begin by asking you, 4 years ago we were trying to figure out this pandemic, and now that we've kind of gotten out of it, how did you survive the pandemic and how did it change you?
It's an interesting thing. I run a nonprofit bookstore, and it didn't hurt it at all. People read more books during the pandemic. The only thing is I lost my volunteers, so my husband and I are running it by ourselves. But this volunteer bookstore has sent over $1,600,000 to Ethiopia by selling donated books and magazines.
Let's get into exactly what you do on a daily basis so we can make it.
I run this bookstore.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, let's just do it this way. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third grade students. It's career day. And one of the kids is curious and says, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that child?
What I do is take a picture of a book and put it on the computer, and then somebody can buy it. And I mail it to them, and then they read it and get smarter and learn stuff and have fun.
So you're a writer yourself, correct?
I wrote one book because we were missionaries in the mountains of Ethiopia, and stuff happened that was like nothing that ever happened before in our lives or in most people's lives. So I wrote that story. But I'm thinking of writing another book.
Okay. Well, take me back to your childhood. Talk to me a little bit about the seeds that were planted for you to become somebody that was a missionary, that's a writer, that helps people get books. How did all this begin for you?
Well, I always liked school. I'm a good student. And I heard a missionary speak, and I thought, that's wonderful. I'd like to do that. So that stayed in the back of my mind as I grew up. And then I met a young man in college who wanted to do the same thing, and it was in the back of his mind. And we got married and ultimately went to Nigeria first and taught high school, and then went to Ethiopia when they opened a community development project out in the countryside, which is what we really wanted to do.
That's amazing. So talk to me a little bit about your missionary work in Africa. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that's a part of that, which is a part of your book, but just kind of give me a highlight so we can give people a taste to actually buy your book.
We were part of a community development team with a doctor, a veterinarian, an agriculturalist, and a handcraft teacher. And my husband was the handcraft teacher, and he taught rug weaving, even though he had never woven a rug. But he's a good learner. He watched the Navajos. He read a book. And the people in the mountains of Ethiopia had a lot of sheep, and they knew the meat was valuable, but they didn't have a use for the wool. So by helping them use their wool to make carpets, it got income in the family. And at the same time, we taught the Bible, and they learned a lot. And we saw God do amazing things.
So as somebody that loves to read and somebody that writes, what was the first book that you read growing up that really made a lasting impact on you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I used to read everything. I used to walk to the library and walk home 12 miles after school because I wanted to check out library books. I read everything. Girl of the Limberlost. I remember that one.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Who's been kind of a hero for you in your life?
I'm sorry. Repeat that?
Who has been kind of a hero for you in your life?
Well, my hero was a doctor in Ethiopia who was He had lost an eye because a child with an infection coughed in his eye, but that didn't stop him. He was compassionate and caring and helped everybody. And he was part of our team up there. And at the same time, showed them each one the love of God. So I thought that's a wonderful way to be.
What is your motivation every day to do the work that you do, to get people the books they want, to get your book out there? What is that motivation that wakes you up every day, that continues to help you on your mission to do all, and even your faith? What is that for you?
Well, the name of the book is Out of Darkness into Light. And I think everybody deserves to live in the light. And the light is, if you have hope and happiness, you can sleep at night without worrying, because you know God is there for you. And so if I'm doing what He wants me to do, then I'm blessed. And we live simply. Our house is where the bookstore is. We have 5,000 books in our house, 38 bookcases, and we have prayer meeting here a couple times a week. So simple is better, and it's good.
Well, let me ask you this. If you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating or interesting and spend a little time with them, who would that be?
Well, we've been watching on TBN, and his mind is going right out of my mind. Stackelbeck. Eric Stackelbeck talks every night about what's going on in the Middle East, and that's very interesting. And he interviews the most interesting people. And who knows, maybe someday I'll be on his show.
That would be wonderful. So, of all of the things that you've done in your life up to this point, what are you the proudest of?
I'm the proudest of living in a tent among the simplest people and introducing them to eternal truths that absolutely changed their lives.
So, what has been one of the best fan letters that you've gotten from your work?
Well, my husband got a fan letter. He taught science at the missionary school in Ethiopia, and he taught them to do things with their hands that were practical. And he got a letter from Germany, Netherlands, from a young man who was his student who barely spoke English because his family was diplomats in Ethiopia. And he said Ray's class was so influential in his life that he became a specialist in medicine in the Netherlands because of that class. And actually, we've had a lot of people tell us things like that, that we are their heroes. So that's a good thing to hear.
Absolutely. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, everyone that gets your books, everyone that reads your book, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a person with vision, a person who can see what really matters and do it, and live simply but profoundly. And I'm not so much interested in material things. It's the things that last forever that matter.
If anyone wants to pick up your book, they want to get books from that you sell, anything about your world, where's the best place for everybody to go out there?
Well, the book is for sale on Amazon and in our eBay store, Heart for Ethiopia, where we sold this $1 million worth of books. It's called Out of Darkness into Light by Lauralee Lindholm. And I do want to say the unique thing in the book is that we relived the book of Acts in the Bible. And so when I wrote the book, each time I thought of something that happened where we were, I found the place in Acts where something just like it happened. And so through the book, it traces how what we experienced parallels what happened in the book of Acts. And pretty unique.
Yes. Lauralee, this has been wonderful. I'm glad that we got everything figured out. It's so great to meet you and to get your story, and I look forward to getting this out and promoting it to get people to read your story.
Thank you. I appreciate your talking to me.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.